What's up, folks? This is Tony Brewer and Aaron Dotson. You're listening to or watching, as the case may be, Cogitations.
Nope.
No, Christianity Now.
Christianity Now.
Christianity Now is a podcast where we talk about, quite frankly, contemporary issues that are facing the Lord's church. It's from First Chronicles 1, 2, 3, 2. We want to be sons of Issachar. I wrote an article, released it yesterday. I've changed the releasing of my articles. Aaron, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but I tend to release them in the afternoon because it's just easier for me to manage my time that way.
Okay, yeah.
And anyway, I had this idea for this article, and it come from something I heard probably from my sixth grade, one of my elementary school teachers. I can't remember if I got him I think the first time I had him was in sixth grade. But he talked about running after like a chihuahua chasing a school bus. The problem when a chihuahua chases the school bus, sometimes the chihuahua catches the school bus.
Yeah.
Now you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's the way conservative Christians were here in the United States, or are in the United States. We've dealt with a shifting culture. It's been shifting farther and farther to the left, to the point where you have people in 2002 who would be considered far left liberals. Well, they're center of the aisle now.
Yep.
You know, I watched Tim Pool, a political pundit, and that dude's a liberal. Like he's a classic liberal.
Yep.
He grew up in Chicago. I mean, but now he's a MAGA. He's Republican. He doesn't claim to be Republican,
Yeah.
but he voted down ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, so you're not a Republican. Well, who'd you vote for? I voted red all the way.
Yeah.
And it's and Elon Musk.
Well, it's because of the shift, what
Yeah.
you said. Things have changed so much. It's not the way it was 20 years ago.
No,
Not.
certainly not the way it was 50.
Yep. Yeah, no.
Do you understand? Have you wrapped your mind around? I don't know when I did this, it blew my mind. I'm assuming maybe you haven't had cause to really think about it. Barack Obama's presidency was way over 20 years ago when he first started.
It's crazy.
Yes.
I don't remember what year he started.
2008.
Wow.
November 4, 2008. Or November 4. Yeah, November 4, 2008 was election day. 2009,
Yeah,
January was his inauguration.
That's 15 years ago, basically.
Oh,
Or 16. Something.
I did it wrong. I did the math wrong. I don't math.
Yeah. But still, you're close. I mean,
I was a decade off.
Yeah.
I was a decade
It's
off.
still a long time, though, man. It seems like it was about 2 or 3 or 4 years ago to me.
Oh, I know. It just feels like the other day.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I can remember Barack Obama's the election day is because this one, probably the best Catahoula leopard dog that I've ever seen walk across on 4 padded feet, named Napper. He was born November 4th, 2008.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hello, everybody. Good morning, Dana Harden and Terry Crooks. It's good to see you.
Trump's first inauguration stands out to me because, incidentally, I was with a friend at a Brotherhood event in Indiana when we woke up election morning and they declared him the winner, 16.
Yeah, 2016.
That kind of stands out to me for multiple reasons. I just didn't think he'd win. I just
Yeah.
thought, nah, and I woke up, I was like, wow, can't believe it.
Ever since I was a little kid, the earliest memories that I have of being aware of the government, I always thought that we needed Donald Trump. Ever since I was a little kid. And not so much because I thought we needed Donald Trump because he's Donald Trump.
Right.
I said, we need somebody that's not a politician. We need a businessman.
Yep. Isn't it interesting seeing those videos where he was interviewed for years and different times he was asked, would he run? And he's like, I don't think, I mean, that was years ago. You know,
Well, he's never
he,
changed.
yeah,
He's never changed. He's never wavered in his convictions.
yep.
He
He's still
talked
a
about
liberal social or social liberal, whatever you call it.
he's still more classic liberal than he is
Oh yeah,
conservative for
oh
sure.
yeah,
He is a New York Democrat
yeah,
from 1995,
yep. Which is quite different than a Democrat from New York 2020,
2025.
almost five. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite
Um,
different.
I want to clarify what I mean when I say that he has never changed. He's never changed as far as his drive. He's never changed as far as how much he loves people, how much he loves this country. He's never changed in his altruism. He's never changed in his sense of fairness and justice. And all throughout his life, all of these people who are attacking him now and trying to pull him down, they are the people who were the direct recipients and benefits of his drive, his love, his altruism, his respect. I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but
Yeah,
you see what I mean.
yeah,
The thing about it, he did say many years, well, I'll not run for president. I'll not run for president. But he would always give the caveat, unless I really feel like I need to.
yeah. And he was never like dogmatic. I will not. I will not run. It wasn't that. It was he was like. In some of them I saw, he's like, I don't think that's not what I want to do. There's other people that could do it that need to, basically they need me to support them. And it was
It
not.
was,
I swear I'll never be president. And he went
yeah,
back on his word and became the president. I don't take it like that at all.
it was, it was basically, it's not something I'm looking for. I'm not, I mean, I'm not going to never say ne- I'm not, hold on, how did I really messed that up. I'm not going to say never, but it's not something I'm looking towards.
Right. Yeah.
And that's,
And I think I saw something, and boy, I'm really grasping right now, but I feel like I saw something in modern times, in the last whatever, I don't know, 8 years,
yeah,
that he was saying something along the lines of things changed and I saw things different to, like a different situation where I felt like I needed to step up.
yep,
Like I didn't always feel that way because it was different then. I don't be putting words in his mouth, but that's the way I took it.
yeah,
Like it's different than it was, and I felt like I could do it, kind of thing.
yeah. And like I said, it's, he ran because he felt like he wanted to implement a change.
Yep.
He didn't just run to get power. So many of these people run to get power.
Yep.
And I don't care what you say about the man, he didn't do that.
Yeah. For the most part, power is understood or defined in America as money. Dude
Yeah.
had billions of dollars before he became president.
Yeah. And in
Billions.
fact, he's the only politician in the last, in my memory, who was worth less money leaving office than he was going in.
Yeah, because most of these folks, they go in and they're just your average, typical, making even somebody that's rich going in like 300,000 a year. He's rich. He makes 300,000 a year, $500,000 or something. Something that's rich to a common folk. But
Yeah.
in political circles, they go in and just whatever 4, 8 years, 20 years later, they come out and they've got
You can't amass that kind of
time.
wealth, honestly,
Right,
on $250,000 a year.
right. The salary they make.
You could at $250,000 a year, living a meager lifestyle, you could have enough assets that you would be worth a few million maybe. But you would have to, like, that's all you would do.
I can't account or defend every transaction he's ever done. I'm not even pretending to do that. I
Yeah.
don't know what all maybe in the past he's lied or whatever. I'm not. I'm just when I
What
look
man
at
hasn't?
right people of the world. That's what most all people of the world do. When I see him though, I see not just I see people like him in the business world that have worked hard and they've been successful. Whatever if they cheated, whatever 1992 or whatever. But This is what does it for me. When I say does it, this is one thing that stands out to me. A person that's in the business world making money and being successful, even if they have to file bankruptcy and then come back from it, that kind of thing. To me, that's just like in a different category than people who are elected by the people, of the people, for the people, to make decisions for the people, and they're up
Yeah.
there inside trading. They're up there making their life better, and they
Did
don't pass rules that apply to them. See, that's
right.
different in my mind than just somebody that cheated as a business person back in the 80s to get rich. You
Did
know,
you know that there is a subreddit which you go to Reddit. Now be careful going to Reddit. There's a lot of bad stuff on Reddit. There is a subreddit where you can look at Nancy Pelosi's portfolio and purchase the same stocks that she does. And her stock portfolio consistently performs better than the S&P 500. Her stock portfolio consistently performs better than
Dow Jones or
well, yeah, but what's his name? The
Warren
two old
Buffett.
guys.
Warren Buffett.
Thank you, Warren Buffett. I couldn't
Yeah,
think of his partner, his
yeah,
friend, but Warren Buffett.
yeah.
Like, do you think Nancy Pelosi and some of them other Congress people, you think they pick stocks better than Warren Buffett does? You think they pick stocks better than the most expert market predictors?
They don't, but they know how to pay to make it happen.
I get well. Charlie Munger, thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
Incidentally, give us just a second. We're going to get to your comments. This is just me and him kind of warming up for the show. We'll get into this, I promise. But yeah, so I think that's what you're talking about. I think it was crazy that Alexander Occasional Cortex went into office making what a junior congresswoman makes, having nothing but student debt. Couldn't even give $100,000 to her abuela. If you'll remember, Matt Walsh launched a GoFundMe and raised all the $100,000, but the family turned it down because it was from Matt Walsh and his followers. But it's like, my abuela can't even get a roof on her house. Look at how bad Trump is. And like, you're a congresswoman in the United States of America, and you can't put a roof on your abuela's house back in, I don't know, Puerto Rico, Dominican, wherever she's from. She's Latina. Anyway,
Yeah.
but that's what they do, and yet she is. Let me just see, how much is AOC from the USA in USD? Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Oh, bull. This has got to be she's got she's top assets. Oh, this is 2018. She is worth $8,000.
That was 6 years ago, if that's true.
Yeah. Hold on a second. All right, let's see what we got here. Here's one. What? Okay. She earns at least $174,000 per year for her congressional salary and has a net worth, according to Celebrity Net Worth, of $200,000. She's not rich, but she didn't rely on smoke and mirrors to inflate her stature or campaign. This is a highly um, what's the word?
Biased?
Biased article.
Yeah.
Yeah, AOC's 8 million in 8,000 in 2018 has to be worth 24 million now.
Yeah. AO,
That is,
AI, one AI source says that much of her financial situation is shaped by her student loan debt, valued between 15 and 50,000. But like
well,
you
yeah.
said,
So
she has an annual salary 100. It says 174,000. So
yeah,
I don't
she
know
can
what
get
she
rid of that
does.
student debt.
Yeah, I don't know what she does with her money. How does she
Mm.
prioritize paying what $174,000? A lot of us could do a lot of different things with that.
Incidentally,
That's a good bit of
uh,
money compared to making like
AO,
50,000.
AOC makes 174,000 a year starting out. She's got 50 to $70,000 in student debt. I wonder if any of it was forgiven in that time old Joe tried to forgive student loan debt.
Yeah,
I wonder if I wonder if well, of course I'm in Canada, so no, it won't be. But let's say go back to Tennessee. I wonder if my cousin working at the sawmill down the road, I wonder how much of his paycheck will go to pay off AOC student loan debt, and he's only making about 30,000 a year.
yeah,
Think about that one. Crazy, man.
yep,
Diana Hart says many years ago, Oprah was a good friend of Trump's, and she sent him a letter asking him to run for president and let her be his running mate. She changed when he ran as a Republican. That's it.
yep.
So, Aaron, let's get into the meat of the
Oh yeah,
podcast here.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I got a verse that I thought I honestly I almost pivoted on you because I like look at the check out the thumbnail. I'm going to put the thumbnail up, and this is really and truly this is the show, the pillar and ground of the truth, the church's unchanging role, and the idea is it's the church's unchanging role in any political or socioeconomic climate. The church's role doesn't change. The problem is, I think, in modernity, we changed, or at least bastardized, the church's role. We have aligned the church with feminist and left-wing liberal ideologies because we have been influenced so much over the last multiplied decades, and we have turned into a feminist gynocentric society, and we cater to not masculinity. Sometimes we don't even care what it is. It's not true feminism because true feminism cannot exist without true masculinity.
Yeah,
True femininity, I should say. Excuse me. True femininity cannot exist without true masculinity. Anyway, I'll get this off so you can see my face.
yeah,
But the idea is we've gotten everything we wanted with this election. What do Christians do now? Do we just say, okay, well, we got it, we rolled our sleeves up and we wrestled with the pigs and we got into the puking match with the buzzard, and now that we're all covered in mud, poop, and puke, let's get back to doing the business of the Lord? I don't think that's the right attitude. I think the right attitude is the people of this nation have taken a stance that Christians begged them to take, and they rose to the occasion. And now we don't have a perfect government, but we have the government in office that is most likely to stay out of our way and let us be.
yep. And not
We
impose things that are diametrically opposed to the basic fundamentals of male and female and marriage and murder and children and babies. And there you go.
and if we
Yeah.
don't take advantage of it,
Yep.
we will bust hell wide open. We have got to get the feminism and egalitarianness out of the church. The church is a patriarchal hierarchy. We got to quit catering to women. That's all there is to it.
Yep.
Once we do that, everything else will kind of fall into place.
And like you've already said, no matter what the political climate is, I'll say that myself too to make sure I'm clear that some honest person is actually going to listen to this entire thing. No matter the political climate, our work remains the same as far as what commands, to obey and the mission
That's
of the
it.
church and all that. What we're talking about is what we're dealing with now. That's what we mean. That's what we do in this show. The
Yeah.
current, okay, the current is looking like from the biblical worldview, the conservative worldview, that our civil government is in a better place now and will be over the next 4 years. So are we going to sit kind of idly like, well, we did our work. We got them in, got them voted, and we're just going to continue to, I'm going to say continue. I'm going to be condemning. We're going to continue on the path of just, apathy and
Yeah.
back burner, putting the Lord as a back burner. When I have time, I'll deal with certain things. Or are we going to say, are we going to allow this to wake us up to say we need to work while we're ahead, if you will? I don't know, not ahead is not the right word, but while we have opportunity,
We need to ride the wave.
yeah, ride the
We
wave.
have some momentum.
Yes. That don't mean we weren't riding and serving before. We're just dealing with what we have now is what we're talking about.
I think it means we weren't riding and serving before.
Yeah.
I think the church had
Yeah.
checked out and become
Yeah.
irrelevant to
Yeah,
the
I get
world.
you. Yeah, I got you on that. Yeah.
I think we, I
Yep.
think we,
I kind of meant it more as it doesn't
yeah,
mean that wasn't our responsibility before.
correct. Yeah, I got you.
That's what I should have
Yeah.
clarified more. Yeah.
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
So
but
now is a good time to wake up and to
yeah,
ride the wave, to find your true roots and identity as a child of
yeah.
God and obey the commands to make disciples of all nations.
And let me tell you another way to say that. Christian, you need to activate, get involved in what's going on in the world, get involved in politics, get involved in the culture. Because if you don't get involved in politics or the culture, what's going to happen? Other people who don't share your values are.
Yep.
If you don't believe, okay,
Yep.
if you don't believe that this can happen, think about how Facebook would be. Think about how X, formerly known as Twitter, would be. Think about how TikTok would be. Think about how Reddit is. Okay? Think about how they would be if we pulled away from those platforms and all of the Christian influence was gone.
Tony, I think the internet is not worse than it is in part because our show. Not because of me and you, but because of the truth that we wield. And the same
Yeah.
is true of any brother or sister that uses the means they have to teach the whole truth
Well,
and to speak out and to trust in the
if
power of the gospel. The
if
world would be
people
worse if it didn't
if
have that.
if people with Judeo-Christian values were not allowed on television, then Christians couldn't have televisions in their homes.
Yeah,
It's almost that bad now,
yeah.
if you think about it. So Van Herndon put Romans 13:1. Hold on a second. Let me get this right set. I want to read it. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Leaders are blessed by God to live in a representative democracy where we can cast a vote, which is why it's so important for us to spread the gospel fervently. Tony said earlier that we elected a government that will most likely stay out of our way. Getting the government out of our way allows us to do what is expected of a Christian. If we take advantage of the opportunity, we can shape minds. Sorry for the long-winded today. It's okay. And Deborah O'Neill follows right behind that, if I can get it right. See it. We are fortunate, and she's replying to Van there. We are fortunate to have a government of the people. The people are the government. We tell them what to do, not the other way around. And I believe that, but even if that weren't the case, Christians still need to be involved in government as much as they can.
Yep.
And hello, Connie Barden. Let me share you with this thought where I pivoted, Aaron, because I'm like, what's the solution to this? I think we need to understand exactly what the church is. I just wonder if Christians don't understand. And I said something in the, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to find it now. I won't. Let me, well, doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter. I need to be able to read this. Um, nope, I won't be able to read it. I said something to the effect of, for the show description. Some claim that Christians, or those who profess to follow Christ, should be so focused on Jesus that earthly matters hold no significance. They argue that Christians who engage in discussions about politics and culture either lack faith or worse, rebel against God. Aaron and Tony will tackle this topic today using the latest presidential election as a backdrop. But make no mistake, this is not a political podcast. This episode of Christianity Now centers on God's design, purpose, and mission for his church on earth. Now, let me read the passage of scripture that I have in mind, and then I want to try to summarize very quickly, and then, Aaron, I'm going to pass this back to you, the differences between design, purpose, and mission, because I said those on purpose. Now, here's 1 Timothy 3, verse 14. Paul tells Timothy, "These things write I unto thee, hoping to come unto thee shortly. But if I tarry long, I'm writing that thou mayest know." Now, I added that word, "I'm writing." But that's what Paul is communicating here. In other words, I'm writing for this purpose. But the secondary purpose is that if I tarry too long and I don't get to come see you, that you may know how you ought to behave yourself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. And without all controversy, I'm just going to read, I love it. And without all controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifested in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. Folks, the church has a mission. The church is the pillar and the ground of the truth.
Yeah.
The church is, from Ephesians chapter 3, the manifold wisdom of God. The church does not show forth the manifold wisdom of God. It is. So the church has a design, a purpose, and a mission.
Yeah.
The design defines the church's structure and identity. We have local, autonomous congregations that are headed up by an eldership that is served by a body of deacons and is a flock of sheep, and there is typically a located evangelist. That's how the church works. They offer psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing and making melody in the heart. They preach the word. They're instant in season, out of season. They don't forsake the assembling of themselves together. They partake of the Lord's Supper. They sing. I've already said that. They pray. They give of their means. That's the design. The purpose clarifies its reason for existing, and I'm gonna hold that for later. Mission articulates its work and responsibility in the world. So the design of the church, it's designed in such a way so it is better able to carry out its mission, which is benevolence, edification, and evangelism. The purpose of the mission is to glorify God.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the church. So these three aspects, you see, they're inseparable. God's design equips the church for its purpose, and its purpose compels it to carry out its mission, or equips, or you can think about it as God's design equips the church for its mission in order to fulfill its purpose.
Fulfill. Yeah, I like that. That'll preach, brother.
I guarantee, if that can't preach, we just can't preach.
I know. Might as well just
If
quit.
that won't preach, rather, we just can't
I
preach.
know. I agree.
Now, here's the deal, Pickle. God's mission. Actually, let's just back it up. God's design, founded on Christ, government distinctiveness. We've already talked that. God's purpose for the church. worship, edification, sanctification, testimony, all of that is glorification of God.
Yeah.
Okay? The mission of the church, evangelism, benevolence, and then edification. And that's edification through preservation of the truth and discipleship.
Yeah.
So we help people learn the truth, we pass the truth from generation to generation, and we help people obey the gospel, stay in discipline
Yeah.
with the truth.
Yep.
And like I said, man, if you can't preach that, you just can't preach.
I know.
Now,
I like that.
is the church's design, purpose, and mission, does it end at culture? Does it end at politics? Or should the church, should its mission include its purpose in politics? In other words, does the church, for instance, the mission of the church, evangelism, edification, and benevolence,
Does that engage politics, is what you're saying?
yes, or does that stop at
No.
the political?
No. It's not supposed to.
It shouldn't. I don't see why it would.
But if you divorce yourself from it and say that it doesn't, you can see how we're not influencing large segments of society, because the influence that civil leaders have over people locally, state, nationally, everything. So looks like to me that's a big chunk of the reason why we're not, I think a lot of people leave this out. They think it's because we're not knocking doors more. Well,
No.
that's one way to try to interact with people. And I'm not knocking all door knocking. But that's what I hear. I bring that up because that's what most brethren talk about.
I know.
Back in the 50s and 60s, they're knocking doors all the time. That's why we were growing. Was that the reason it was growing? Or was that one of the fruits that came from the other reasons why it was growing?
Let me take a pen and burst that bubble.
Yeah, do it. I'd love it.
In 1950, the reason why door knocking was so effective is because of the politics and the culture in which the church resided.
Yeah.
In 1950, when you left, I grew up between Treese Road and Possum Trot Road in Northwest Tennessee. If you're wondering where that is, that's just up from Skunk Holler and right across from, right across from Skunk Holler and just up Breezy Ridge. And I ain't making that up. That's actually true. I tell, whenever I was young, 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, I told tall tales. Like they were tall tales, like Paul Bunyan and
Daniel Boone.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Bunyan, Daniel Boone or Davy Crockett grinning a bear to death when he's 3.
Yeah.
So
Mountaintop, Tennessee.
yeah, it's tall tales. Now, why did I say that? Why did I say that? That was germane to a point I wanted to make.
Well, you were tying that into how, the church, the design and the mission and the purpose, how the church interacts with the world, and the way that the politics that the church was in the 50s, 60s, and so forth was
Just up from Skunk Holler and across from Breezy Ridge. Like I'm not above, for humor, putting a long tail on just a regular story from my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the stories I tell, it's just use your head a little bit. No, Possum Trot didn't have a city limit sign that read 27 people and 12 coonhounds.
Yeah.
You should know better than to know. Anyway,
Yeah.
my point is this.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole. Yeah, it's a tall tale. Oh, Aaron, get me back.
50s, 60s, 70s, the environment the church was in.
Yeah. On Possum Trot Road, just up from just across from Skunk Holler and up from Breezy Ridge, you didn't lock your doors in 1950. If a stranger come up to the house, as long as you didn't have a mean looking, or as long as you didn't have a mean dog, even if it was a mean looking dog, if a stranger was in need, they'd go into your kitchen, they'd get them a little bit of stuff and leave you a note telling you who they were, where to find them, and they'd be back to pay you back and thank you for your hospitality that they knew you'd give if you was there. That's not the same environment as people go out door knocking now
No.
because the culture is different.
Yep.
People need to understand that. Now, please don't take from this podcast that I think we ought not to door knock. You and I have talked about this at length, Aaron. You and I are both in agreement. It's not the most effective thing you can do for evangelism, but you know what? Don't we have to do something till Jesus gets back?
Yep.
And I would rather be found doing something ineffective that I'm able to do
Yep.
than not doing anything because I don't believe I can be effective at something.
Yep. Yeah, I could see it being like, let's just say you had like 5 different ways the congregation can overtly, externally reach out. Might spend, 60-40 of the money, 40 on the door knocking, 60 on some of the other things that we see in our culture more. I'm just making up a number, but I wouldn't put all the eggs in that. But on the other hand, you will grab a soul door knocking that you wouldn't grab otherwise. So it's not
Go
totally
call B.J. Clark.
It's not a total waste of time, even though the culture is different.
Right. Yeah, and if you're one of those that think that door knocking is just the worst sin that a Christian can commit, go holler at B.J. Clark, the Memphis School of Preaching, and ask him to tell you why his wife was at Freed Hardeman. Well, she wasn't his wife whenever they met, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah, and go talk to Rob Whitaker and the congregations that he has helped to try to educate with his experience of the door knocking type work.
Yeah,
it does grab souls. It does open doors and make Bible studies.
And if you don't believe it's effective, well, the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints would like to talk to you.
Now, to interact with people as a whole, like you did from the 50s to the 70s, no. I think, again, me and Tony agree, it ain't going to happen like that. No, it's not on that level. That's where we're at now, and that's why we're talking about, we would do other things. We wouldn't just do door knocking.
That's it. And we need to understand that we live in the culture. It is so important to understand how much the culture allows the flow of Christian values or constricts the flow of Christian values. Aaron, I can't remember. Is it Peter or Timothy? Paul writing to Timothy, or is it Peter? Talk about pray for all men, for kings, for those in authority, that we may.
Paul to Timothy, 1 Timothy 2. Yeah.
That's 1 Timothy 2. Okay.
Yeah. I'll double check.
That passage of scripture caused me to change fundamentally the way I thought about this.
Yep.
Because we got to have political rest, and God's desire is for political rest and peace.
Yep.
If Christians, if blessed are the peacemakers, and there's only one way to make peace.
That's right.
Christian, you better be involved in politics. Now, that don't mean that I think you ought to cast off the shackles of your secular job and go run for political office.
But engage it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Let the word be the dividing line. We're not arguing saddle up with the Republicans, saddle up with the Democrats. It's not that. It's Christian. Engage the politics. Engage the community. You can't block yourself off from politics because politics has become such it can't be done.
Even the Amish.
Yep.
Even the Amish, they turned Pennsylvania red.
Yeah.
Even the Amish got out.
Who have vowed to, just stay away from society. That's because politics affects things.
Yep. And it affected them. They outlawed.
But Tony, I've heard Christians say for years, hey, it don't matter who gets in there. I still got the same command to obey. And they make light of it to the point where now it's this huge red wave this year. Wonder why.
Yeah.
Because the way that it was swinging for a long time, it affected society.
Yep.
You can't just say it won't affect me. It won't affect me if Kamala gets in. It won't affect me it won't affect me if Hitler gets in. It won't affect. Yes, it will.
Well, that's it. That you just said it right there, and I don't care how absurd it sounds. yes, who gets elected affects you, Christian.
It does.
Like, if you had the power that your one little vote has in your voice, like if your voice had the power of your one little vote during World War II, would you not have used it?
Yeah.
Would you think, well, we got Hitler going to rise to power and we've got his opposition over here, but I don't know. Well, Hitler's going to kill 6 million Jews, and this other fella, he's still going to try to take over the world, but he's not going to kill any Jews. You know what I think I'm voting for? They want to vote for the fella that's going to kill less Jews.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe you'd vote for a tyrant, a fascist dictator that would try to take over the world. They're both, the one's going to kill less Jews.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first level. But understand, I get out in this community here in New Brunswick. I talk to people from all walks of life, from the homeless, all the way up to the people who, they ride those big. Have you ever seen equestrian
Horses.
dressage? Dressage.
No.
Dressage is like ballet, but for horses.
Oh, okay.
Dressage is, yeah, and there's no time clock, but there are judges, and unlike, usually a time clock means money. Like training Tennessee walking horses, they're not very expensive in the horse world. Where a race horse, like one that could be a contender to win one of the big races, or maybe all three of them, multiplied maybe hundreds of millions of dollars nowadays. I don't know. Well, that usually takes a time clock. Like a barrel horse is always going to demand more money than a Western pleasure horse. All things being equal.
Yeah.
A dressage, but it's because one's got a clock and one's got judges. I mean, if you got a barrel horse that can run 2 seconds or a second faster than everybody else in the competition, it doesn't matter if you can figure out how much money, how many races you can run that horse, you can recoup some of your investment, and then you have breeding rights. So that demands a lot more money. Where a Western pleasure horse, it may do good in the southeast region, but if you go to the southwest region, it may not win at all.
Yeah.
Because it's on judges. Well, these people here, they have these. There's some of these people here. There's equestrian dressage, and these horses, just their grooms probably have more money than me or you ever will. It's just there's money all over that industry.
Yeah.
And I talk to them. Every one of them. And you got to be like Paul, all things to all people. Guess what they want to talk about? Guess they don't care about Jesus dying for their soul. They want to know, how come I'm paying $8 for butter? How come I'm paying $12 a gallon for gas?
Yeah.
How come Canada is losing all of its generational wealth? There's a redistribution going on in Canada right now. That's why Pierre Poilievre is gaining so much ground for the conservatives. And you can't help them with Jesus being their Lord and Savior, their Lord and Savior, while they don't have enough trust that they're going to be able to even live in this world. These people in Canada are convinced that it would be better to just call the government and get a MAID package,
Yeah.
than to try to have an uphill battle with cancer.
Yeah.
Or depression.
Yeah. Anxiety.
Okay. If Kamala Harris would have been voted into office and the Democrats would have stayed in power for another 8 years, Christian, that's what you'd be dealing with in the States now.
Yep.
That's what you'd be dealing with in the States now. That's right. The Amish pulled our bacon out of the pan. We should be grateful and support them in their efforts to defend themselves against government overreach. Yeah, I think it's the dumbest thing in the world to drink raw milk. All you got to do is bring it up to a boil, let it just boil for like 1/1000, 2/1000, then cut it off. but I've known too many people that have had long-term adverse effects from drinking raw milk, and there's nothing in it that's good for your guts. There's nothing in it that your digestive tract can handle as far as bacteria and stuff. It's crazy. But guess what? If you want to put your mouth on the teat, that's your right as a United States citizen and as a sovereign entity created in God's image.
Yeah, just as a human being, people have that liberty. That's what I
That's
think.
it. That's it. I like Trump's policy about medicine, the right to try. Like there may be a medicine that you need that the doctors say it might work, but it's off book. Well, why can't I try that medicine?
Yeah,
I mean, in Canada, I can get,
because the FDA won't allow it or
yeah,
whatever. Or
well,
that's one reason.
in Canada, I can get any kind of drug I want to delivered right to my home. Even if it hasn't been legalized, most of it's been decriminalized. So they can just ship it. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Why can't I try a drug from a doctor and use it off book? Why couldn't I do that? Well, these are the things that people are concerned about, and you can't get to Jesus unless you get that first.
Would you say that's parallel to the, maybe not completely parallel, but it's the same principle as the man who had the legion and he had a great physical need before he could sit clothed and in his right mind talking to Jesus or listening to Jesus?
Dude,
That's the same
every
principle, right? I mean,
every interaction Jesus had, he didn't start with the spiritual. Nobody can deal with the spiritual until they take care of the physical first, then the mental. I use this. You've been around Bay, Arkansas, and you've seen their system of ditches. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say the three amigos, me, you, and Brock Kendall, are walking down the main gravel there at Bay, Arkansas, and we hear something going, "Oh."
Yeah.
And you've heard me use this illustration before. It's old hat by now. So I go investigate, and I look to you and Brock and say, "Y'all come here and look at this." And there's a fella in the bottom of the bay ditch, and without getting too graphic, he's quite a lot of red stain around him, in the little creek.
Yeah.
And just below his hip, just above his knee, his thigh turns at a 90-degree angle. This ain't right.
Uh-uh.
And then I noticed he's got part of his femur. He almost severed his femoral artery. So the three of us,
He about to
yeah,
die.
and I don't want the guy to die without hearing the gospel.
Yeah.
So I asked him, "Excuse me, sir, do you know about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? He died for your sins, and if you get baptized into Christ, he'll wash your sins away. Here, just roll over, and you'll be baptized."
Some brethren wouldn't even be that affected. They'd be like, "Here, believe, confess, be baptized." He'd be like, "What in the world are you talking about?"
But you
I'm
see,
sorry.
what would we do first, Darren?
We do our best to take care of that guy's femur. I mean, I don't know how to take care of it. I'd get him the help he could as soon as I possibly could.
Well, I was about to jump on you. I was like, "You're a nut job.
That's right.
You or Brock wouldn't do a thing to
That's
try to
right.
take
I
care of
wouldn't
him."
touch him.
We'd go,
Yeah. I'd dial 911. I'd sit
Yeah.
there and I'd just pray. I'd pray they'd get there soon enough to help him.
so once we got him out of the ditch, and when I say we, once we dialed 911 and the heroes got him out of the ditch,
Yeah.
we'd follow him to the hospital. We'd talk with him a little bit when he got stable.
Yeah.
We try to assess his mental state.
Yeah.
And once we got him assessed, once we got his body stable, once we got his mind stable, you know what I'd ask him about? And I wouldn't really ask him. I'd just say, "Boy, It was by the grace of God that we came along when we did.
Yep.
Aren't you
Teaching.
thankful to God?
Yep. Yep.
You know, it's funny. That's how evangelism works. It's an as you go
Yep.
kind of deal.
And
Funny how.
when I got to giggling over here, that's what I feel like we're speaking generally here. We're so shallow about this and so ignorant. We hadn't read the gospel accounts and how Jesus talked about the physical
That's it.
to where we're at the point we see some guy laying on the side of the bridge. We're like, here, believe, repent, confess, be baptized, and remain faithful. And they're like,
It's to the
what are
point.
you talking about? I feel like that's the way the world looks at
I
a lot of
know.
people in the church. We say something that we think is like some kind of summary of the gospel, and they're looking at us like, what are you talking about? It's like they feel like they picked up in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
You've been around people like that. I've been around people like that a lot of times. You're like, you feel like you're in the middle of a conversation. You don't even know what they're talking. You're like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's so
Why are
nuanced. You don't know what they're talking about.
Why are you trying to explain to me the ins and outs of dispensational premillennialism? When my father lay dying in the hospital, I don't have enough money to feed my children. I
Yeah.
ain't seen my husband in 6 months. I've got a baby on the way.
Yep.
And you're telling me that I'm going to hell because I think Jesus is going to come back and set up a kingdom on earth and reign for 1,000 years? Here's the thing. That gal that I just made up in my head, she might be going to be busting hell wide open. Do you think that that scenario is the time? Or do you think maybe we engage her on a cultural level?
Yep. Somebody encounters the church, some member of the church, and the member of the church is talking to him about something spiritual, something that needs more than 5 seconds. But even before the 5 seconds or 10 minutes of study, they can't even pay their light bill. And they're asking the church to pay their light bill. But the church looks at them like, we don't want to pay your light bill because you're not interested in spiritual stuff. See, that's where we are, is the church. We don't want to help you pay your light bill because our job is to do spiritual things. And light
And
bulb's not spiritual, so we can't help you. Do you not have a job? And and there may come a time with a lot of people where they need to be told to get a job. But if you're going to build a bridge with somebody, you can be gracious to them and pay their power bill one time. You can open
dude,
a door.
the churches in the United States have so much stinking money. Even the little failing congregations that used to be 500 members 10 years ago and now they're down to 30 or 20 members.
Yeah,
They typically have a big old nest egg in the bank.
yeah,
And look, there's a book called Diary or Autopsy of a Deceased Church. It talks exactly about it's churches that have lost sight of their purpose.
Purpose.
They've disengaged from the polis. They've disengaged culturally. And they try to set themselves out as being the authority on morality, but the church is so irrelevant that nobody listens to it.
right. Yep. Which goes back to what we were talking about for a while, design, the mission, and the purpose. The
That's it.
design gives us what we need to carry out the mission, and the mission accomplishes the goal, our purpose of glorifying God.
That's right. I like them comments that start with the 2 words, "You're right." Boy, I
Yeah.
favor them a little. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. I just realize what I try to do whenever Aaron and I are not particularly focused on the comments is I try to just at least click them
Yeah.
so y'all know that we love your comments
Yeah.
and we have seen them.
Yeah.
And if we don't get to them, we have at least acknowledged their existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did wanted to throw this in because I want to get back just a minute. We've deviated. Tony Brewer, not we, Aaron and Tony. Tony Brewer, have deviated a little bit farther than I intended to. Enjoyed the show, enjoyed the conversation. I do want to get back a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. You're right, Aaron. Too many Christians say it doesn't matter. God's in control, so I don't need to vote. I believe God expects us to put the person in office who will ensure we have the freedom of religion, and not all people want us to have that. So that's a good first of yes, I agree with that 100%. No need to give any commentary on it. But that's a good kind of lodestone to get us back to the topic at hand. The church has got to engage the culture and the community. That covers politics as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just about voting.
Right. It's
It's not
not.
just about voting. As I've said earlier, and I mentioned in an article that I wrote not too long ago, and I made this logical progression, this
Connection or
connection. Thank you. If we from 1 Timothy 2 are commanded to pray for the government, and there is a purpose to praying that we may lead quiet and peaceful lives.
yep.
And if it is the case that the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much.
Yep.
Couldn't think of the word avail. The word effectual and fervent's two English words that translate one Greek word. It means powerful. It means effectual and fervent. You are responsible for the effect of your prayer. And I know that sounds weird. Well, Tony, I pray to God for things I have no control over. Good. And once you pray for something you have no control over, you must act in this world as if you have, as if only you has control over it.
Yeah, you act consumer it to the prayer.
Yes, that's the effectual part.
Commensurate is the word I'm looking for.
Commensurate, yeah. Well, it's commensurate, consumer. It's saying, yeah, it may be a false.
Yeah, I'm with you
combination.
100. I'm with you 100%. 1 Timothy 2. I think we made that comment a while back that 1 Timothy 2 1-4. It's our job to be the answer to prayers. That's
it.
the prayer, the model prayer. When it comes to your kingdom, your will be done, and don't lead us into temptation. We understand what all that means. That means we act in accordance with all those statements.
Yeah.
We don't say, God, don't lead us into temptation, and that means you got to do everything. I don't have to practice self-control. I don't have
You
to.
can go take a job at the whorehouse.
Right. I could go work at the pornography shop, and I can, because God don't lead me. Well, I went. You did not lead me, or you didn't lead me.
You can bust tables at the strip club.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, no, we've got to be answers to those prayers. We live lives that follow the desires of those prayers. I'm convinced the purpose of prayer is to get God's will done. That's what I'm convinced the purpose of prayer is. There's other things about it, but I'm thinking the ultimate purpose of it, besides communion with God and casting our anxieties on Him, and there's so many mental and spiritual benefits. I'm not trying to neglect that, but ultimately what it does is it's to get God's will done in our own lives. So how do we do that?
Yeah.
We make choices, we act, we behave, we influence, we teach, we connect
so
with
think
the
about
community.
this. If it is the case that I'm commanded to pray for the government, if it is the case the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, then that means I need to work toward the fulfillment of my prayer.
Yep.
The minimum, the lowest barrier to entry to that room in the United States of America and in Canada is voting.
Yep.
That is the least intrusive to you thing that you can do. When you say, "Dear God, I'm going to pray for the President of the United States." Clink, clink. Okay, I put legs on my prayer.
Yep.
And I prayed that we'd get a good president, so I cast a vote for a good president. Now, Aaron, let's take voting off of the table.
Yeah.
In a nation where voting doesn't exist, where the aristocracy is in a line of succession, parent to child, how could Christians affect change politically in that nation? Like that's something we got to talk about.
All the other ways besides voting. Like
Tell them that,
that's
we
what
need to tell the
I think
people.
the most important things is teaching, teaching and preaching and serving. That's that's what, serving builds bridges and opens doors of opportunity. Preaching and teaching is the communication of the word to people, plant the seed in people's hearts. So you get that, you get that word out there and you preach and teach.
That's it. You have to affect the culture
Yeah.
as in the best possible way that you can.
Yeah.
Romans 13. I want to go there real quick because there's something I want to bring out about this. Boom. That's 12. No wonder it looked funny. All right, verse 3 of Romans 13. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? So Paul's asking a rhetorical question. Would you like to exist and also not be afraid of the power of the government? Don't be evil.
Yeah.
Be a good citizen. Here's the thing. If you want to affect the government in a way that makes the government more positive towards Christians, don't make them mad. Be a good citizen. Be submissive and compliant everywhere you can. I would even say be overly submissive and compliant everywhere you can.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen if you're a Christian being led by worldly wicked men, you're eventually going to be asked to do something that you can't do.
Yeah. That's like
So
Daniel.
that's the minimum.
I think of Daniel,
That's it.
doing everything he could possibly do to affect change, and he
And
could.
he did it. He did what he did,
Yeah.
not because he was throwing it in the face of the government, but he did what he did because that's who he was.
Yeah. Just like with the praying in the window.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
as he was wont to do. Is that how it says? I can't remember.
Yeah. As was his custom or
Oh,
something.
as
Like
was his
that.
custom. Something to the
Like
effect.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we mean. And I think sadly, whenever like somebody like Aaron and I start talking about this, I think all people, and I'm not saying that any of you do this, but if you have done it, that's okay. It's just that's why we talk about these things.
Yeah.
Whenever we hear Christians need to be involved in politics, Christians, the pulpit and politics don't need to be divorced. Christians need to be concerned with the culture. Christians need to be concerned with politics. We're not talking about voting for Democrats or Republicans.
Yeah.
Look at who Trump's putting in his cabinet. I saw a meme where like 4 or 5 of the closest of Trump's allies that Trump is going to be using in his new presidential term. I think if the meme was to be believed, Aaron, every one of them used to be the thing that they had in common is that every one of them used to be Democrats.
Yeah. Which again, I think reflects what we've already said about the shift and change
Yeah.
and stuff. Because they're saying some of the same things that the conservatives are saying, the right.
Right.
Yeah. When we talk about these kinds of things, we're not suggesting that, I think what people think is when they hear get involved in community and politics and these kind of things, they hear things that we don't mean.
Yeah.
Or they think of an extreme example. Like I need to get up the pulpit every week and flash the pictures of all the politicians on the PowerPoint and go there. Like that becomes my bread and butter of my
Yeah.
preaching. Let's
Like,
just say,
okay.
let's just say once a year I got up there and with scripture I said, look, these people have said, and I put the quote in the source, and they said they're going to help murder babies. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's good. I think that's where a lot of brethren won't do that.
They won't. No.
And again, I'm not putting a number on it. Let's just say I did that twice a year. Let's just make up a number. I did it twice a year, that type of thing. And I extolled the gospel, and I talked about how I'm praising Christ and the gospel. I'm not praising the politician. We have an opportunity to affect our community and to help to be a part of the answer to the prayers instead of sitting idly by voting, for the best choices morally,
Do you know one reason why Trump got elected this term? It was all of the black folk the ecumenical black folk. Do you know why that they changed and voted for Trump instead of the Democrats? Because a lot of the reverends told them to.
Yeah, they're the
Now, right,
influencers.
wrong, or indifferent,
Right. Influence.
but
Influence of the
that's
religious leaders. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And incidentally, the thing that spawned all of this was from the come on, Tony, was from the post that I shared on X. Let me see if I can find it. So weird calling it X.
Yeah.
All right. Where is my profile? And that's our profile, really. It's just, we've got 64 followers now
On
on
the
X.
X. Cool.
All right, here we go. I shared this back in like 2015 when I first got on Facebook. Sorry. So this is Jeremiah 5:31. The prophets prophesy falsely. The priests bear rule by their means, and my people love to have it so. What will you do in the end thereof? Now, I'm just going to read this. As I study and prepare sermons from Jeremiah, I cannot but notice how the state of affairs in Judah relate to much in America. I wonder, as Christians, if God is looking down on Christians in America and seeing the general lack of evangelistic effort and thinking, my people love to have leadership. My people love the leadership and condition of this nation despite what their mouths say. We surely have ran to and fro in the streets from the richest to the poorest and noticed the wickedness of the people, Jeremiah 5:1-5. Will we preach to them like Jeremiah did, or will we sit idly by and place our stamp of approval on their spiritually destitute condition like a wicked watcher who gives the city no warning? Ezekiel 33:6.
Yeah.
So what's the answer? We'll preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. Why, Paul, should we preach the word? Why, Paul, should we preach the word? Well, the time's going to come when they won't listen to it. So I know it's a daunting task. I tremble at the thought of it. However, I stand on the shoulders of men who have gone before me. May it never be said of you and me or any person who wears that God-given name of Christ that they love to have it so. Now, I want to focus on Jeremiah 5:31, and I want you to convert
Yeah.
the theocracy under which Jeremiah lived and about which Jeremiah prophesied to the republic under which we live today. So the prophets prophesy falsely. The prophets were the moral authority. They were the authority of God. All right. So the prophets spake and said, here's what we have to do, live, and act. The priest, because of what they said, ruled based on the prophet's authority. The problem is the prophets were prophesying falsely. Now, the priests are analog in the United States to the Congress, the House, well, the three branches of government, the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. And so let's just convert this to a 21st century application. The Christians either teach falsely or they keep their mouth shut, and the government rules the people by this morality, and the people in the nation, along with the Christians, love it like that. So what do?
Yeah, and if you're a Christian and you don't love it, then why aren't you preaching against it? That's
Exactly.
the whole punch. Are you remaining silent?
Yep. What will you do in the end thereof?
Well, I got to stay out of politics. Why? What verse says that? That's my thing. What verse says you can't engage politics? I see Jesus and John the Baptist and the apostles interacting and preaching and teaching and conversing with political leaders.
Ooh.
What
do you think it is not lawful for you to have her was? Do you think that was a political thing? He was talking to Herod.
Yep.
Was Herod a tetrarch? Was that he like a king?
Part of 4. Yep. Him and his brothers or whatever they. Yep. Yeah, they had like Galilee and Judea divided up.
Yeah, if that ain't politics, I don't know what is, Aaron.
I know. And he
But that's the
engaged
politics we're talking about.
and he engaged him. And
That's
somebody
it.
might say, well, that's different. Okay, let's keep going down that path. John preached to that man the truth about his marriage and God's standard for marriage.
Yep.
There would be people in the Judean community who would like or dislike or hate or love and reverence John. See all those different types? I just,
Oh,
for
yes.
him doing that.
Yes.
See, that's where a lot of brethren are today. Well, I don't want to say ABC because it directly counters or connects to, it addresses politics. That might hinder my influence in the world. That might close the door. And I get that concern. Like, I don't want to shut doors unnecessarily. Like,
Right.
I get that. But if teaching the truth does it, and I'm doing it with the best attitude possible, I love the truth and I love my neighbor as myself. I
That's
want them
it.
to go to heaven, so I give them the gospel, I give them the truth. You can't avoid moral, that's what we call them. It's God's word, moral issues, God's word. You can't just say, well, I'm only going to preach the death, burial, and resurrection to the politicians. I'm only going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, John didn't do that.
Well, they don't care about the death, burial, and resurrection.
See, that's the thing. Like, we try to I've heard brethren do that in so many words, try to like segment or divide the gospel up into, well, we don't need to, and I get why I don't want to walk around with a shirt of a politician that's got blood dripping down from Trump's face going, yeah, I'm going to kill all you sorry suckers. I think I do, in my judgment, that would unnecessarily close doors. But we all have to make a decision where that door is closed, because God don't say in the word, wear a Trump shirt, don't wear a Trump shirt. Wear a Kamala shirt, don't wear a Kamala shirt. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to use your own discretion in these things. And I see brethren split over this.
Yes.
I'm sure there are brethren who disagree with the things that me and you do on the show. They can't stand what we talk about.
Yes.
I know. I'm sure there are people that think we're dabbling in an area we don't need to. We don't need to, get into anything political.
And those people can go to hell like gentlemen and leave us alone.
Yep. Go kick rocks.
Well, that's where they're going.
Just leave it alone. Leave us alone.
You've disconnected. You've checked out of the fight. You've been issued a helmet, a breastplate, a shield, a sword.
Thing is, I'd venture to say they think they have it. They think they're engaged in the world, but they do it different than we do. The
more fool they.
So they think that they're doing it in a better way, and we're not. But I understand. There's things about politics that make me gag and sick. I understand not wanting to make it appear like you're aligning with politicians and stuff. I get that, but if you stand on the word and you stand for the truth and you live and die by the truth, then you're not aligning yourself with a politician. You're not.
But here's the thing: who cares if you are?
I don't.
I'm with Trump.
Yeah.
I'm with Trump.
Yeah.
Secularly.
Yeah.
I endorse him.
Yeah.
He was not the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. I endorse him.
He was just a man who's not a Christian that is very, very ethical. We had somebody, when I made that statement, we had somebody, Trump is not ethical. You need to learn the difference between ethics and morals. Ethics is how you act based on your morality. Thieves have a code of ethics that are immoral, but they are still a code of ethics. Trump has a code of ethics, an ethos by which he lives and by which he acts. He's already made. That's why he can make decisions so quickly. He's already dealt with all of the contingencies.
He knows
who he is.
Yeah. And by aligning with him, I'm talking about the way people would say that.
Oh, I know it.
You love and worship Trump. You believe Trump's the savior. You're elevating him above Jesus, and that's stupid. That is a false accusation as I ever heard. That's just to say that I endorse Trump as the candidate to be the president. Because there's no such thing as a see. That's the thing. I've been in conversations on social media with back when this was all building up vote, and people immediately, if you say anything positive about Trump or the red side of the moral issues, you're gonna get attacked immediately. And my thing is, so what sinless candidate are you voting for?
Exactly.
I've asked that so many times.
Or what sinless elder did you support to take the office?
Yeah, what sinless preacher do you support to preach? Like what?
And incidentally, if there was more than one person up, like being considered for the office of elder, and you had a voice, how did you not pick the lesser of two evils? If your standard is a person who is less than perfect is evil.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I like that thing that we talked about not long ago. The perfect something fallacy. They don't.
Yeah,
It's not a perfect solution, so we can't do it. We can't.
Yeah, there's a few different informal fallacies that
Yeah.
all that aren't different enough. That aren't different enough between each of them for me to really draw an accurate dichotomy. I don't think. I'll just call it the nirvana fallacy. In other
Yeah.
words, if this ain't the perfect result, then we can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so there's never. I don't think Garfield was a Christian. I think that's apocryphal. But he could have been. Some folks say Garfield stepped down from the highest office in the land to take the president's.
I've heard there's not enough there's not documentation of some of that stuff.
Well, Dan Cates, he found some one time that was pretty convincing. But
No, I've heard some strong cases made. He wasn't even a member of the church. He was like Christian church or something.
As have I. That's the
Yeah.
thing. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
and Dan wasn't dogmatic at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he just like, hey, here's some evidence, and so
Yeah.
I try not to be dogmatic either way. But
Right.
like, I am as sure that Garfield stepped out of the eldership to become the president as I am that George Washington chopped down a cherry tree and told his daddy he could not tell a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we know what kind of person Garfield was, evidently.
Yeah. Hey,
Like, that's-
Alabama. So if I'm elevating Trump above Jesus, who are they elevating above Jesus? Exactly.
Well, they're putting Jesus right where he's supposed to be. It's you that's got him off kilter. Hey.
Oh me.
So, yeah, Aaron is wonderful, and I've enjoyed this show so much. I didn't mean to talk about this all that much. I really meant to talk about the purpose of the church. Like the whole point I want to make is
Yeah.
all of the culture. We've got all of these football players that instead of kneeling because of social injustice, whenever they do a touchdown or something like that, they're doing the Trump dance.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
say it again.
Yeah.
They're doing the Trump dance.
Yeah.
CNN is trying to hire a Trump personality. We have taken back the culture. Whenever you talk to somebody, if they are like, well, I can't believe blah, 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 you don't have to argue with them anymore. You can just say, well, look, sister so-and-so, or look, brother so-and-so. You don't realize it, but you're on the wrong side of history with this. The nation has spoken. Do you not believe in democracy?
Yeah.
The nation has spoken. We don't want elective mastectomies and castrations for our children. We don't want babies murdered in their womb. We don't want medical assistance in dying. We don't want children to be taught about sex
Yep.
separate and apart from their parents. We don't want that. You're on the wrong side of history.
Yep.
One of the videos that I was going to show today talked about racism. This black man was talking to this white woman, and the black man was like, so do you think that America is racist? And the white woman was like, well, yes, I think America is racist. She said, do you think all white people are racist? She says, well, America is built on racism, and its structures and its systems are racist, built into the system inherently. So he said, well, so are there any racist people at all? She said, No, I don't believe there's any racist people. It's the system. Folks, that is the fundamental difference between the right wing of the political parties and the
Yeah.
political aisle and the left wing of the political aisle.
Yeah.
The Republicans say the United States is not systemically racist. There are racist people doing bad things. The Democrats, the left side, they say nobody is good or nobody is bad. Only systems are bad. So, like, if you got somebody who's a thief, they're a thief because they don't have any money. So let's give them some money. If you got somebody that is not successful, if they're black, they're not successful because the system is keeping them down.
And what does this have to do with the fact that the Great White North has been saying for years, and I'm talking about the government,
Yeah,
the big brother will take care of you. We'll eradicate racism. We'll eradicate class differences. You know, we will bring about complete social justice. Well, again, that's the idea that the system, I don't know, what's it have to do with that? Same thing, right? I mean, it's what
yep.
we're talking about. What you got over there? I know you're thinking, your wheels are moving, but
No, I don't just that.
I don't want to change the subject, but I love the whole design, the mission, purpose thing. I don't know. I've enjoyed today's podcast too, but hey, maybe we can do another one with that and do even better. I don't know, but that'll preach, brother. That's good stuff. That's the church needs to be fully aware of its design, its mission, and its purpose. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think the church today really does.
I'm going to read a quote.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was listening to you. I
Go
appreciate
ahead.
what you're saying,
Yeah.
but and I know you were stalling for time, so I
Yeah,
got back
yeah.
to you.
Go ahead.
This is Lyndon Baines Johnson. Now, he was a Republican, right?
I don't know. I can look it up.
He was a Democrat.
Oh, okay.
He said this in 1963. Now, keep in mind, under Jim Crow, under systemic racism, the black community was doing much better. And there were racist people that didn't like it. Now, what did they do to harm the black community? They didn't do anything overt. When I say they didn't do anything overt, they didn't do anything aggressive. They came in with social programs. Listen, these Negroes, they're getting pretty uppity these days, and that's a problem for us since they've gotten something. Now, they never had before. I've read that with the wrong inflection. Anyway, the political pull to back up their uppityness, now we've got to do something about this. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. I will have them, and he uses the N word with a hard R, Niggers. I will have them blank voting Democratic for the next 200 years.
Who was that? Lyndon Johnson?
Lyndon Johnson. Now,
They're-
if,
they're-
Am-
They're,
if America,
they're excelling to a point where now we got to use them. Now we got
Yes,
to get them to vote a certain way to use them.
yeah, they're pretty uppity these days, and that's a problem for us. And it's been a problem for us since they've got something now they never had before. The political pull to back up their uppityness. So what was happening is evidently in 1963 or before, the black community was so focused on they were so grounded in Judeo-Christian families. The divorce rate was like practically nothing. The home ownership rate was high. In all metrics, the African American, the black community was doing better than the white community. It wasn't the Republicans that come in and didn't like it. Joe Biden actually worked with people who were of the KKK. Like Joe Biden he's been in Congress long enough that he actually he helped pass pass laws that were intended specifically to harm African American people and families.
Surprise,
Now,
surprise.
the divorce rate, now there are more black children born out of wedlock than there are born in wedlock. And the most dangerous place in the most dangerous place in one of the largest cities in our nation for a black male child is in his mother's womb. There are more black babies aborted in New York City than there are born.
That's so terrible.
And until this year, this is the first year since Lyndon B. Johnson said it in 1963 that there has been any kind of cultural shift where the black population has said, you know what? I think we're tired of what the Democrats are doing.
Yep.
And how many times over the last 5 or 6 years has people who are Christians tried to rise up and be like, look, reality needs to assert itself. The United States is not systemically racist. It was. We stopped that. So you're dealing with a country that is trying to do whatever it can do to get past this sin of the past. The problem is it's just not that big a sin in the whole scheme of things. You still have nations today that participate in chattel slavery. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's the Republicans, it's the people like you and me, the conservatives on the right side of the aisle, that the Republicans say, look at them, they're racist. It's this white liberal woman that's talking to this black man that says, well, no, the nation is racist. And the black man is like, so you don't think that there are white people that are racist? Like, no, it's just the system. If we could get rid of the system, then we'd get rid of racism. That's what the left is trying to do. Christianity is part of the system, folks. I don't know.
I think that's where Marxism comes in. A lot of those people, the white liberal woman and man really, has bought into the whole Marxism thing. They think that's going to eradicate and make equality.
Yeah.
Got to change the system. If we can change the system.
Well, the thing about it is, Marxism absolutely will make everybody equal.
Yep.
You'll go to the lowest common denominator.
Yep.
Capitalism will raise society up.
Yep.
To the highest common denominator.
Yep.
You'll have less disparity of wealth in what's the one you just said? Marxism, socialism, communism. You'll have less disparity of wealth, but that's because nobody has any wealth.
Yep.
You'll have much more disparity of income and wealth and assets and resources under capitalism. But the low won't be low. The low will be orders of magnitude higher than the highest under Marxism. As far as the median, I guess I should say. There are people in Marxist, in communistic, socialistic countries, and they're very, very rich. But that's what happens.
The oligarchy, I guess. The elite.
Yeah. Some famous woman is expecting her first child, a boy. The comments are disgusting, saying that she should abort him and wait to have a girl. Yeah. And there's another thing these crazy liberal women are doing. They're shaving their heads and they're saying, I'm not going to get married, I'm not going to have sex, I'm not going to have children. I'm like, sounds good. I don't think you should have been breeding in the first place.
Yeah, you're going to eradicate your own tribe. Go ahead.
That's it. Go ahead. Go talk to Japan. Japan, for the last 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, every year has sold more adult diapers than it has baby diapers.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's not the only one, but Elon Musk has been talking quite a bit, it seems, about how the population of the United States is going down, and it's only a detriment to our society.
The only regret that I have in my life, Aaron, is I didn't have 4 more children. The
Yeah.
world needs my genetics.
Yeah. Yeah.
The world needs my genetics. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you, I'm gonna be one of those suckers that if I'm 75 and my wife passes away, I'm gonna try to get married to a young thing so I can have more children.
Yeah.
The world needs my stock. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
You need to have more children. Well, you can't. I'm saying you can. I mean, your wife,
But
this last child she's 35, wasn't she?
yeah.
The child wasn't 35. The mama.
Yeah. Molly was born 35. She was 36.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's just I wish I'd have had more. For one, I really like my children.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind having some more of them.
Yeah.
I guess I could always just go try to adopt a few. I could go be like going to the pound, getting some good ones or getting some decent stock and then training them up real good.
Yeah.
I'd love to have like a big old building where we had like 25 or 30.
Yeah.
Just get those kids, train them up.
Yeah. Teach them the
I'd
word.
love every one of them. It'd be so fun. Dude, that'd be so amazing.
Teach them about life and teach them the word. They'd be so
I
much
guarantee.
better
Teach
off.
them how to ride horses.
Yeah.
That was so fun. I've still every once in a while I'll go back and look at those old videos and stuff like that. Um, I'd have a gaggle of kids, problem kids that run around with me in the summer. Most of them young boys that cuss and spit and fight and might stab you in the gut if you looked at them the wrong way. It's kind of a fun little group. But we had so much fun. A couple of them was pretty gritty, and if I had a wild horse or something that I didn't feel much like handling, I'd just be like, "Go ride that one." There's 18 inches of soft sand in that arena. If you get in trouble, just roll to the left.
Well, there's some good stuff in them old generations that we need again now.
I'm telling you,
Man,
man.
oh man.
Look here, there's this one little boy. Him and Anthony were playing, and they got into some mischief. The barn where I was, it had a metal roof on. It's a steel building. It had a metal roof on it, and they got to. I was riding in the arena, it's like a 50-foot by 50-foot. You treated it like a round corral. And I was riding in the arena, and I heard the most awful racket. This colt that I was on, he just about spun out from under me, and we parted company almost. And by the time I had him, and they just kept throwing, I kept hearing the noise. Well, when I finally got a handle back on my horse, it dawned on me that these little idiots were outside chunking handfuls of gravel up on the top of the metal building, and they thought it was cool. They'd make the noise and roll off.
Yeah, yeah.
I went out there and said, "What are y'all doing?" They knew they had lads, and I brought them in. I said, "I don't know what to do." I was mad, and I've got a rule. I don't ever discipline a child when I'm mad.
Yeah.
But they had to sit there and watch me calm myself down.
Yeah.
I was like, "I cannot believe that you did this." And so now once I said, I don't know what punishment I'm going to do. What do y'all think's good? And they didn't want to come up with nothing because they knew that I could get creative.
Yeah.
And I don't like hitting children.
Yeah.
I don't think a fella should. I
Yeah.
think you should hit children about as often as criminals are put to death, and as about as often as church discipline is withdrawal of fellowship is practiced.
Yeah.
I think there's a time and place for it, and I think it should be used a lot less than what is used.
Yeah. Don't get me
So
on
let me
that
tell you-
soapbox. Whew.
Well, let me tell you what I did besides spanking. I said, "Y'all gonna remember tonight, and you will never do this again." I said, "Go to the corral." And I said, "I've got to curry my horse, and I got to wash him, curry him, let him set under a blanket. It was a little bit chilly. I got to let him set under a blanket so he don't, get the colic and die. Crazy horses, you ride them too hot when it's too cold and their guts twist and they'll die." And I said, "I got to muck out one stall. It won't take long. And then I got to feed. I've got about 30 more minutes of work to do. Y'all are going to run for 30 minutes." They made it about 10. And they when I say run, they's in 18 inches of that sand. So about the only thing they was doing was going forward with urgency.
Yeah.
And after about 10 minutes, I noticed both of them. You know how you get that stitch in your side when you've overexerted yourself? Well, they is there.
Yeah.
So I'm not a tyrant. I hollered in them and I said, all right, stop running, but I want you to walk until your side quits hurting. And you know what? I kept an eye on them while I was doing my business. It took them about 5 or 6 minutes, but they loped off and started running in that sand as best they could again. And you know what never, ever, ever happened for the rest of our time? They didn't throw any rocks
Yeah.
up on the roof of
Yeah.
that barn.
Yeah. Yeah. Cut it out of them.
Guarantee it. But anyway, why did I even say that? Like, it's just that's what we need this
Yep. That old.
in our culture.
Yeah.
As a Christian, you can extol that. You can influence others. I don't know.
You what? If young people today just watch a good season of like Bonanza,
Yeah, boy.
just something like that. You just like you can learn a lot from just that show. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Ain't no telling how many people today are not even learning the basic principles you'd watch on Bonanza.
I know it.
Don't kill an innocent man. Don't just
Don't don't shoot a man in the back.
don't shoot a man in the back. Don't just so many things. Don't hit a woman in the face. Don't
Don't square. Don't do the right thing
nope.
and say what you mean and mean what you say, even when you don't want to.
Yep. Even when that's my favorite person on Bonanza is Ben. The dad.
Yeah.
I love old Ben. Ben just goes, and I don't always agree with him, but 99% of the time I think he's on spot. Every now and then I'm like, I don't know if I'd do that, but
Yeah.
it's just a show. But it's nothing terrible. It's a show. But he loves them boys, and he makes them learn responsibility, and they learn integrity. Ben suffers because of his integrity. It makes me think of Psalm 15. To his own hurt,
Yeah.
is he gonna be honest and whatever?
Yeah. The books that I've read I bet I've read this whole series. The series as a whole I've read probably 8 or 9, maybe 10 times. Some of the books in the series I've read 20 times. If I say I've read them 20 times, I'm shy. It's called The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I
And
heard you mention that. Yeah,
Oh, I love it. That's what the whole thing is about.
yeah,
It's about doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. My favorite character, there's an exchange with him and another person, and the person and the character, my favorite character, has a reputation of being a loungeabout, a no good gambler. He drinks too much, chases women. He's just a scoundrel, a rogue. But every time the battle is thickest and somebody needs to step up and save the day, he's there. Every time some of the characters get caught or trapped or something, he's the one that rescues them. And he never wants to do it. He is the reluctant hero, hopped up on steroids and strung out on cocaine. All right? Like he's just the uber reluctant hero.
yeah.
And one of the characters is talking to him said, I had an uncle that reminded me, and you remind me a lot of him. You couldn't get him to do any work. No honest work whatsoever. He wanted to run around, he wanted to drink, he wanted to dice. Happy-go-lucky, carefree. Everybody that met him absolutely loved him, but they always held close to their money purse when he was around. And I'm like, I've known people like this. And then the woman said, but then let me tell you one thing one day. We were curing tobacco, and ember hit the thatch of so-and-so's roof in the night, and my uncle went in 7 times and saved Harold and his whole family, and it cost him his life. He said, and the person to this characters. She said, "What I'm trying to figure out about you is, are you going to be there when the fire starts?" That's one of the biggest things we've got to teach this generation.
Yeah.
You want all of the layabout. You want all of the fun. You want all of the impulse. Well, that's fine, but you gotta show up when the fire starts. You
Yep.
don't leave till everybody's all right, even if it costs you your life.
Yep.
You got to stand for something. You'll fall for anything if
Yep.
you'll allow me to be a little cliche.
Yep. Here's something I thought of that I don't know if you're wanting to kind of end this up, but here's something I wanted to.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
want.
realize we was 41 minutes after the
Yeah,
hour.
yeah. What I wanted to kind of end with was trying to kind of bringing it back maybe to what we were saying or something we've already said and repeated as a theme. But just the other day, you remember I sent you a video, private messenger, of Mr. Rogers. You remember that? I sent you that
Yep.
little video. And it's him singing the song of, you're born a boy, you stay a
Yep.
boy.
That's
You're
it.
born a girl, you stay a
Stay a
girl,
girl.
and all that kind of thing. And your response was, and this is what I want, just kind of final comment is all I want. You said, I think the pendulum is swinging back to center. And that's
That's
kind
it.
of what this whole show's about is like,
Yeah.
we have an opportunity right now. The people have spoken. Yeah, there's people that dissent, but there was enough in our country with electoral to to be very, very red, and hopefully that will only not only prevent more deviation over the next 4 years. I feel confident it will do that. But I hope that it, as a nation, but I hope and pray that it will help to promote and flourish good things. And I do believe it will. But a lot of this is up to the church. I really, I mean, if not all, really. I mean,
Say that again.
it's up to the church. The church is the light that's on the hill. And we sing the little song with kids like it's a kid song, but this little Christian light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Really? Are you? You know, it ain't
Are
that
you
hard
gonna?
it ain't hard to go in there and vote. You ride your air conditioning car and you stand in the air conditioning building and you go in there and nobody sees who you vote for and you vote for Trump. Well, good, good. I'm glad you did. Now, what are you gonna do? Because that's just a one-time event that can help. What are you gonna do all them other days for the next 4 or whatever years?
Oh, Aaron, let's go to Proverbs 27. What you just described is a perfect illustration of open rebuke is better than secret love.
Yep, Proverbs 27:5.
I'm going to go vote for Trump, but I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. Nobody's going to know I'm a Trump supporter. Then
Yep,
you're not a Trump supporter. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be a Trump supporter. I'm just saying if you I'm going to be a Jesus follower, but I'm not going to let anybody know I'm going to be a Jesus follower. Then you're not a Jesus follower.
yep,
Simple. Now, I don't think that in order to go to heaven, you got to support Trump. That's not what we're
no, no,
saying.
no.
But in this past election, if you're like, you know what? I can see the tide start to shift. I've prayed to God. God has given these two options for us to choose between, and I'm gonna consider my option, my vote, a
Yep,
test by God.
yep,
Do I have enough sense to pick the better candidate? And the better candidate for Christianity is the red, not the blue. Well, don't keep that to yourself. We have to influence. And if you feel like that's the truth and you think it's the truth enough that you pull the lever for the big bad orange man, then you need to try to influence others to do the same.
yep. And you can get in there when it's the thing of it is no, don't use politics to purposely be divisive. No. But people care about what's going on in society. They care about what's going on with the mutilating children. They care about the gas prices, the economy being high. You can talk to them about that because that will give you more opportunities, I believe, to teach them the gospel. I do. I think it will. You can carry yourself in a way that they could see you truly believe he's the better candidate. It's not I worship him. I think he's the better candidate to vote for president. Here's the reasons why. Let me tell you about my Jesus. You know,
That's it.
I worship my Jesus because of this. And Jesus has given me an opportunity to speak the truth. Even if those truths, I don't know the word you used to use, I don't know the word, but it falls along the line of morality now with the candidates, with the parties and everything. It
Yeah.
divides over that now more than ever.
Oh yeah, the line of demarcation between
Yeah.
good and evil, and the line of demarcation between the Democrats and the Republicans, or the line of demarcation between the left and the right, used to be very, very far apart. Like not even in the same country almost. The more time has progressed, the more the line of demarcation between good and evil and the left and the right have started to get closer to the point where on certain issues they're merged. You
Mm.
cannot tell the difference between the line of good and evil and the line of the left and right. So the ramifications of that is one can no longer sit idly by, or one can no longer say, well, my mama and daddy voted Democrat, my grandmama and granddaddy voted Democrat, my great granddaddy and great grandmama, and my great great granddaddy and my great great grandmama voted Democrat because we've been farmers all our lives and Democrats help the working man. You can't say that. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
And it's it's the line of there's something else that that I've said. I think you're looking for.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly
The
what.
the the debate used to be the debate used to be. Excuse me. The goal used to be the same for both sides of the aisle, and the debate used to be policy. Which policy would better take us there?
Yeah.
Now the debate is not which policy will take us to the same goal. It's the left has a goal that is evil, and the right has a goal that, at the very least, is morally neutral.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's what you're looking for or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. But good comments. I agree. It's good. I'm out, really. I ain't got nothing else.
Well, the purpose of the church, the church stands as a beacon. The purpose of the church is to glorify God. The mission of the church is evangelism, edification, benevolence. The design of the church is local, autonomous, all that good stuff. If the church doesn't take advantage of what it has been handed on a silver platter, there's going to be a lot of folks who are otherwise faithful who are going to be littering the grounds of hell. We have to offer the people something different than the world can offer them, and they are looking. I promise you, they are just like the people in this thumbnail that I made that shows they're walking around blindfolded and they're attracted to something they don't know what,
Yep.
but they know they got to get to it. Some of them are walking off the edge because they can't see. They're just seeking. Some of them, by the grace of God and sheer dumb luck, are on the path. It's our job to get out of that building
Yep.
and run around here and make sure these folks that are seeking get to where they need to be.
That's right. Teach and serve.
That's it. Oh, I want to, before we close, Hey Alabama's got some comments here real quick. Um, if anyone needs more children, it's Christians. Adopt them if necessary. If I could take care of children like I do dogs, I'd be some more busy. Is big brothers and big sisters still a thing? I have no idea, but I'm going to check that out, and I'm going to see if there's a place that I can do some mentoring here in the Tri-City area. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
remember the Big Brother Big Sister program. Do you, Aaron?
I just heard the name. I've heard of it, but I
That
don't.
may be a little bit. How old are you?
39, 39.
Well, I'm 4'7", so
Yeah.
I would have been old enough. I would have been. I don't know what I'm trying to say. My memory would have been stickier earlier than yours was.
Yeah.
That's
I've
what I mean.
heard of that, and that was a pretty old thing. What did that
It
goes back?
was.
Don't they go back into the 60s, don't it?
Well, hold on.
I remember. I think I
When?
heard about that on Andy Griffith. No joke.
No, I don't think it was on Andy Griffith.
I thought I heard that. It's about a Big Brother program. It's mentoring. Yeah. It's one of the colored episodes.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Then
Howard mentored this young man.
oh, good grief! I
There's a
stand
website.
corrected. The story of Big Brothers Big Sisters of New York City began December 3rd. Guess the year, Aaron. Don't Google it.
I don't know.
1903.
1903. Wow.
1903. Now, I will say this, I just Googled when did Big Brother and Big Sister program start?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, of course, oh, excuse me, 1904, December 3 of 1904. The history spans more than yeah, wow. Big Brother is a reality competition. Oh, never mind. That's not what we want. We don't want the reality show. Hey, hey, Alabama says the 70s and the 80s. I feel like, Aaron, there might have been either a resurgence
Yeah.
or a push to get it out of New York.
Yeah. I see a
Because
thing online that says there's one in Little Rock. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of
yeah,
Central Arkansas.
I'm gonna see if I'm gonna have to see if Canada's got something like that. I'd be interested in serving something like that. I tell you what you ought to do. This is unsolicited advice is always interpreted as criticism. Aaron, don't interpret what I'm saying as criticism, but this is unsolicited advice. You ought to go over to the children's home. Like if I were back in Northeast Arkansas or close, like if I was back in your neck of the woods,
Yeah.
I think I'd call them up and be like, listen, I would like for every other week to come and just hang out in one of the houses and talk to the young men for a while. Maybe have a devotional, a
Yeah.
little bit of a Bible study, and just talk.
Uh-huh.
I squandered that opportunity. I didn't think about that
Yeah.
until I was gone.
Yeah. I've never really thought about that either.
I bet you they'd let you do it. I mean, I think you'd have to submit to,
Some.
maybe a background check and
Yeah, I've actually been over there recently. Not the children's home, but the place they used to use as the children's home. I went not too long ago looking at the camp stuff.
they've moved the children home.
Well, I mean, years ago, probably.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Well, yeah, man, it's been a long time since I've been over there. All right,
Did you say,
Aaron.
hey, Alabama, my children used to slam the door going in and out to get them to stop. I had them shovel a wheelbarrow full of manure every time they did it.
Yeah, I
They
meant to get
wanted
one like
stop
that.
it.
Look, yeah, you don't have to hit a child.
Yeah.
Hitting a child is punishment, not discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't punish your children. Don't punish them for being ignorant.
Yep.
Don't punish them for doing something you don't want to do.
Yep.
Discipline, bring them into alignment.
Yep.
You don't do that with hitting them.
Yep.
You do that with making them haul manure.
Yep.
You know what's a really good effective way to help a little boy learn to put the toilet seat back down after he's through tinkling? He's got to do push-ups every time he's caught leaving it up. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know.
A lot of people just spank them, though. I mean, so they
well,
grow up with this complex of pain and getting hit every time with the toilet. It's like,
I know.
anyhow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why. I don't know why my 5-year-old boy pees in his pants. Because every time he leaves the toilet seat up, I wear his little butt out, and he associates that with going to pee.
Right.
Like, gee,
They don't want to pee. He's afraid of the pain.
I know it's like, well, I don't know why my dog I just can't get my dog potty trained. Well, what do? Well, every time my dog pees or poops on the floor, I roll up a newspaper, I rub her nose in it, and I beat the tar out of her, and I throw her out the window. Well, how's that working for you? Well, now what she'll do when I let her out of her crate, she'll go in the living room, she'll pee and poop, and jump out the window.
Right. She gets the crazy out of there. Oh, man.
Well, no, like that's what you're teaching her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better to just like, oh, you don't. I don't know. We're going to get into stuff we don't. If we ain't got time. Be another 2 or 3 hour podcast.
I know it.
Next week we're going to have a little bit different schedule, right?
Yeah.
We're going Monday.
We'll do it on Monday. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Monday. Don't forget about supporting us. If it's the end of the year, if you need a little bit of a tax write off, I know where you can send it. And I ain't joking about that.
For real. Right.
I mean, if we had an influx of budget, we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to grow. But if we had an influx of budget, it'd be quicker.
Yeah, that's right.
In fact, it's getting time where I got to get back on the horn. In about another week, I got to get back on the horn with YouTube, because we meet all of the qualifications.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the partnership program.
Yeah.
It's just, I think some of those shorts that we've used have either been redos or reuses, and I just got to figure out. I don't want to apply for monetization again. I get all that stuff right.
Yeah.
But I really think that even with the views and stuff that we get now, if we were monetized, I think it'd bring in $40 or $50 a month US.
Yeah.
That ain't nothing to sneeze at. And I think I've learned some stuff about advertising on Facebook that helps us with this show here.
Yeah, good.
So anyway, we'll see.
Good.
That being said, you know what your money is going to when you support us.
Yep.
You can do $1 a month at patreon.com/Christianity Now. We have PayPal. You can do www.nearchurches@gmail.com. You can send us an email and ask for a P.O. box. We'll send you I'll send you an email with a P.O. box address. In fact, it's this address: P.O. Box 99900 HR 567 317 RPO Mountain Road, Moncton, MB, New Brunswick. That is E1C0T1. And if you don't want to write that down, shoot me an email or shoot us an email, christianityisnow@gmail.com. And we got a email hanging out that I'm going to deal with sometime this week. Just some questions about some stuff, so I haven't forgotten you. But that's the way you can help us out and support us monetarily. Or look at the bottom of the screen there. Subscribe to our Christianity Now Substack. If you subscribe there for $5 a month, you get access to a lot of articles. You get access to quite a few articles in the archive. Aaron does a wonderful job with the articles that he releases on Saturday. Now, Aaron, you release an article for our premium subscribers on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you release one
free one on Sunday.
Free on Sunday. Okay, I want to make sure.
Yeah, and the Sunday after my surgery, I didn't do one. And then I did the next one. So
yeah. We didn't even tell people about that.
Yeah. That's why I felt like I have an invisible clothespin on my nose.
Yeah. I mean, privacy. I mean, you care what
nah,
people
man,
know.
I had a septoplasty, and there's another word that goes with it that for my nose, because I had
a rhinoplasty.
Yeah, well, it's
it's a nose job. I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, it's not a nose job. It was
well, you had a job done on your nose, because I can hear the results.
That's right, and it's gotten a lot better. It's a turbinate reduction, septoplasty and turbinate reduction.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to tell people.
It improves the airflow, and it reduces nasal congestion by correcting the deviated septum and reducing enlarged turbinates. So
yeah, them turbinates, man.
Get them there turbinates. The good thing is, I had it November the 7th. The good thing is I definitely see progression, less pain. Went yesterday for the first follow-up. They said it's looking good, and I'm thankful for that, because I didn't know what they'd say. I was still having pain, still this. I wasn't worried, but I just didn't know. And you go in there, and he said they looked up, checking everything out, says everything's looking good. So Couple more weeks though. I've got some of the regiment that I do. I do like irrigation and stuff like that. So it's
Well, yeah.
got a
Do
little
you
more.
use one of those nettle pots that you
Well,
pour up?
it's the same brand, but it's just like a bottle, a larger bottle, and
Yeah.
it's got a black tip. It's pretty big. You remember
Okay.
them old little bulbs you used back in the 90s or 80s? You give the little kids a little blue bulb, little bitty tiny
Yeah.
little, it's kind of that's what they provide you with. I ain't using that. My nose is too sensitive. It touches up in there, especially the first week.
Yeah.
You don't want to touch nothing up in there. It's too sensitive. So I already
Right.
had one of these neti pot brand type things. It's not the thing you pour, but it's one of the things you squirt. Well, anyhow, when I went yesterday, he said, "You're doing a really good job on your irrigation." I didn't even tell him what I was using. I said, "Good deal."
Yeah. I wouldn't say a thing. As
I
long
didn't
as I'm
say,
doing a good job.
that's right. I didn't say nothing. He just said, "You're doing a really good job, and it's looking good." He said, "I want you to do that for 2 more weeks." So
Gotcha.
it ain't that bad. Feels pretty good. It helps, but then it goes back to being kind of
Yeah.
stopped up. Then it opens. It's all a
Yeah.
process. It's still, I think he said I'm like 20, 30 more percent before I'm fully back to, so maybe it's like
Gotcha.
70% healed so far. So it's getting
Cool.
better.
Well, folks, hopefully we said something that helps you along on your spiritual journey. The purpose of the church is to glorify God. The mission of the church is evangelism, edification, and benevolence. And one of the ways the church carries out its mission to serve its purpose is the church, and that means the individuals of it, that's me and you, we engage with the culture and the polis.
Yeah.
That don't mean you got to get out and go vote. I mean, I would love for you to go vote. I mean, obviously the
It
election's
don't
already
mean
over,
you're
but you,
going to hell if you don't vote.
right.
But on the other hand, it does mean you got to engage it. You got to teach it.
Well,
You got to serve it.
I would swap every Christian in the United States. And actually, no, I wouldn't, because that just gets into sheer scale and number. Here's the thing: if you don't vote, I want you to think of something that you can do to influence your little corner of the cosmos in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's what we're really asking for.
Yeah.
And let's, as the church, let's make sure we ride this wave. Let's make sure that we've prayed for this. God's given it to us. We've got short of the entire government obeying the gospel and acting according to their faith. We got what we wanted. We got a government that'll pretty much stay out of our way. Now let's go gather all these people. God is sending them to us.
Yeah.
God is we get visitors all the time at the Riverview Church of Christ. Some they just come in. They've never, most of them will never be back. They just want to know what it's all about, because people are looking.
Yep.
That's what we wanted to convey. Thank you so much. We would love for everybody to go to Christianity Now Streams and hit the thumbs up button. The thumbs up button, back out of the live chat and get the thumbs up button and give us a subscribe if you like this content. We don't normally go for over 2 hours, but I felt like it was a really good show today. At least it was a really good conversation. May have been an absolutely terrible show. Yeah, and those little bulbs, they do get full of mold real fast. They're
Yeah,
not.
and with the one I'm using, it's clear and it's
Yeah.
easy to clean, so I can see it. Whereas the old little blue
Yeah.
90s, 80s bulbs are
Yeah.
just, you can't even see the inside. Next thing you know, you got mold in there. you know?
Yeah. Well, that's like the little rubber duckies in the bathtub. You got to watch them.
The one I'm using got the bigger tip. So it's
Yeah.
like I can literally just press it to my nose and it doesn't go into my nose and hurt. It
Yeah.
just gets it. Anyhow, enough nose information. If you ever have a septoplasty, use the thing I'm telling you.
Cool Bill. Aaron Dotson, we got 7 folks watching on Twitter.
Good deal.
That is
Wow.
amazing. I hope y'all follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
I ain't got the first clue what I'm doing over there. Aaron don't do anything, but I will tell you, when Aaron puts out something I think is cool on Facebook, I steal it and put it on our Twitter
Yeah.
or on our X.
Yeah.
First Chronicles 1, 2,
I
3,
am
2.
on X, actually. Me, myself, and I. I'm on there. I don't use it a whole lot, but I do get on it
Yeah.
sometimes. I like it. For some reason, I think I like it better than Facebook. But anyhow, that's enough said. I need to hop off here. So.
All right, dude. We'll see y'all. God bless every one of you. This has been Tony Brewer and Aaron Dotson. Do all the stuff, support monetarily, whatever. Subscribe, like, share. Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio. I don't know why we're so abysmal as far as our presence on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, but we are. Maybe this format doesn't do well over there, but we're still going to put up the archives. If you want to listen to them after the fact on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, go to one of those 4 platforms, type in Cogitations, and you'll find it. God bless you. This has been Tony Brewer and Aaron Dotson with Christianity